Three friends boarded Disney's galactic Starcruiser to seek their destiny and emerged as heroes of the Halcyon. Hello and welcome to Heroes of the Halcyon, the best, and to the best of our knowledge, only Galactic Starcruiser Superfan podcast on the web. I'm Galactic Starcruiser Superfan Drew, and with me as always are...
Superfan Christine.
And Superfan Martin.
Christine, what are we talking about today?
Today is another glorious grab bag of information. We are going to be talking a little bit about our current character development. We are just 36 days away from our second voyage, and we are beyond excited. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about listener emails and interactions on the interwebs.
I think it's fun, too, for the character discussion. We have two parts. We have the non-spoiler function, and then we have the spoiler piece.
Spoilers coming in hot.
But that won't be till much later in the episode, and don't worry, everyone. We will warn you in plenty of time, and with that, let's take it away.
Well, we also wanted to talk about some of our listener interaction, which has been fantastic. So excited. So happy you guys are doing that. We're hearing back from you on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, email, everything. And it's all been wonderful. So please continue to send us your stories on here'sthehalcyon@gmail.com. Martin, are they still able to do the action figure card backs?
We're still getting requests for that every week. We still provide. If you send us your Galactic Starcruiser CSL or just your favorite Starcruiser photo or even Galaxy's Edge photo, we will put that photo on a Kenner-style action figure card back and get that over to you as a fun little digital image reminder of your voyage.
Or your perhaps voyage or your wished voyage. What's really cool is mine is up on the wall and it looks really cool. It's a conversation piece just because, again, Martin, you did a really, just an amazing job putting those together. So thank you for mine, and I'm sure our listeners are thanking you for theirs as well. Mm-hmm. I also enjoy posting on Facebook on a pretty regular basis. There's a Galactic Starcruiser planning Facebook group that Dano and Sarah J. Mack are kind of the admins for. And every week I post, hey, here's what our episode is. And we get lots of great feedback, which is fabulous. And I'll keep doing that for the remainders of our shows. I also go on Reddit every once in a while and try to post, hey, here's some episodes that we have. And the feedback that we get there is also a lot of fun.
Well, it's kind of like a Galactic Starcruiser support group.
It is.
Like, I've been there and I need to talk to somebody about it and nobody else understands. We understand.
We do. We very much understand.
Please come join us. We're happy to hear your stories and happy to celebrate with you.
My name is Martin S., and I'm a Galactic Starcruiser addict.
Hi, Martin.
Hi, Martin.
All right, so we are 36 days out, guys. 36 days until we're back on the Halcyon. So for this, I'm curious, Martin, Christine, what are you guys doing to get ready? And what are you doing to prepare to have the kind of excursion or voyage that you're hoping to have when we go back on?
Well, this has been super different than the first time. The first time we were just solely focused on making sure that our cosplay was on point and really staying as spoiler-free as we could. That was the focus. Where this time, we know at least 90% of what we're getting into. There's parts of the story that we don't 100% know, which is fantastic. We obviously don't know who's going to be playing the characters that we all know and love. So we know it's going to be a little bit different than it was last time. This time, I believe all of us, but I know for me specifically, I've really been working on the backstory. Like, I really wanted to understand who Captain Malie Fassant was. Where did she come from? Why is she on this ship? All that kind of stuff. So I think for now, I've done a pretty good job of understanding who she is. And we've all posted our backstories on the website, which has been great. The one thing that I'm struggling with now is figuring out her purpose as to why she personally is on the ship and what her voice is. So that's what I'll be working on for the next 30 plus days.
Are you trying to do that so that you can kind of engineer your way through the story in a certain way? Or are you doing it so you can know how Malie would react to find a story organically?
Yes. No. Part of the challenge that I think we've talked about before, especially with some of our guests that we've had on that have been on Starcruiser, is I really want to not take the same path, and yet that's kind of who my character is. So to try to avoid the scoundrel path, which is what we did last time, when she really is kind of a scoundrel, is going to be a challenge. I don't know yet that I'm going to go in with a, hard line, like, here's the people I'm going to talk to because I know this will take me on the path that I want. Or if I'm going to attempt to let it happen a little more organically and see who does come up and talk to me first, who's drawn to the character of Captain Maleficent, and how the data pad leads me to where I need to go.
Gotcha. Well, let me break away from you for a second, Christine. Martin, I know, having talked to you for the last several weeks and kind of talking about what we were talking about doing, you are not just taking more of an active understanding of your backstory, you're kind of using it to kind of steer into the voyage and perhaps kind of engineer a path through the story. Am I anticipating that right?
Yes, I believe that's correct. Is one thing that we're all doing is we're actually doing short in-universe character videos that we're going to be releasing, in the weeks leading up to our voyage, one at a time. I've got 2 specific episodes, really short, just a couple minutes each, but that kind of say, who is my character? What am I there to do? And it really does kind of lay down some groundwork of, what am I on that ship to achieve? Just to kind of give the characters, if they choose to use this as interaction points with me, great. If not, it's just kind of fun to understand who is my character in my own head.
And I love what you just said, because that's exactly the point I'm taking. First of all, if we were so lucky that somehow cast members actually saw our videos and kind of understood where our characters were, I'll be frank, the model for me is Mike Celestino and what happened with his character. I firmly believe that they kind of absorbed that material and then it informed their choices that they made toward his character on that voyage. I would love that to happen for me. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If it doesn't happen, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. So to what you just said, the stuff that I'm doing in laying the track is to provide the ability for the characters to go, oh, it's you, Zoran. I know that you're the famed hacker kind of ne'er-do-well, but you really want to help the Resistance stick it to the First Order. That would be amazing. But on the second level, I know this is what my character would say. And to what you said, Christine, when the characters come talk to me, I want that to inform the choices that Zoran is making, not that Drew is making.
Right, exactly.
This sounds crazy, but I was so inspired by the not just the characters the last time we were on Starcruiser. I was so inspired by the performers that they were able to step so completely into this different persona that I'm like, okay, I want to try that. I'm not just going as Martin in a costume.
Right.
I'm going there as George Sakul, Galaxy famous Holovid director. I'm going to ride that out and I'm going to see exactly how deep that rabbit hole can go.
That's awesome. That's super cool. I know that one of the reviewers on our on Apple Podcast, one of the reviewers absolutely respect this person's opinion, indicated, you're going too much in the backstory. And I get it. You don't have to have this level of backstory for the character. You could walk in just and let the ship happen to you. Whoa. You know what I mean? Just let the voyage happen and you're going to have the most amazing time. But we're going in a second time, so we're kind of knocking on the door in a different way to see what can we do. As you said, how far does a rabbit hole go? So I think that's a great way to take the cruise.
Yeah, we're not Galactic Starcruiser fans. We're Galactic Starcruiser super fans.
Well, and like I said before we even started recording, is we kind of all had this mini vision of who our characters were, and knowing that, a Twi'lek normally has kind of a French accent from, watching the Clone Wars and whatnot. And so my thought was, okay, cool, I can kind of fake a French accent enough. And I think I said probably 2 words in a fake accent, and that was it. Like, I didn't even remember my name, let alone the fact that I was supposed to have a French accent. It was just so overwhelming being on the ship and being involved that now, I think, like we've all said, it's going to be a completely different trip, and I don't doubt that it's going to be as good, if not better, just because we are going to be able to jump in with both feet as opposed to being overwhelmed by everything that we're seeing.
Sure. So one question that I'm surprised you guys with this question, and I'll start with you this time, Martin. Are you going to go? Are you going to go in costume are you going to get dressed up in costume before we go like we did last time? Or are you going to kind of relax in line for the boarding process and then get in costume? Or are you going from moment one?
I will say that this is one of my absolute top 5 tips to anyone going on Starcruiser. If you are going in cosplay, you arrive in cosplay.
Absolutely.
That way, the moment you step on the shuttle, you're in character, you're in universe. When the doors open to the Halcyon and you step into that atrium, you're doing it in character. That's a moment you can't recreate without paying another, $10,000.
Well, it's not $10,000, but I get what you're saying. Sure.
So I think that arrive in there, because the last thing you're going to want to do is take the time to get in costume later. Arrive in it. Set the stage. The moment that the not just the performers, but the moment any cast member sees you, be there in character for them. I really want to, I love these cast members. I love not just the performers. I love every single person that's working on that ship and the energy that they bring. I want to bring a little bit of that from the moment I step on the property.
Are you feeling the same way, Christine?
Absolutely. I don't care what kind of a to-do it is. It's going to be done before we get on the ship.
Nice.
I would actually, another benefit to arriving in it is every moment you spend in your cabin, you're missing possible interactions. Now, again, there won't be story moments right away, but do you want to, those are precious moments that you get to explore the ship.
Sure.
Now, sure, is it uncomfortable sometimes and a little hot to be waiting outside while you're waiting to get on the ship? Yeah, but if it buys me an extra 30 minutes of exploring that ship, that
as George
Sakul, that I wouldn't have otherwise,
right?
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
And not only that, but something about Starcruiser that it's just a never-ending selection of decisions put in front of you, and I can absolutely see it happening where decisions and like excitement and not story paths, but just things start happening around where you get tied up and you just don't get in the costume. And then it's the end of day one, you're like, oh shoot, I never actually got in that costume.
Right, exactly. I mean, as I brought my 2 dinner outfits and didn't even change into either one of them.
I could absolutely see how Starcruiser is just so intoxicating and just so, it pulls you in so many different directions by design, that I can absolutely see if someone doesn't show up ready to go, that they could look back at the end of day one and go, what just happened? I didn't even get into this. Character, I mean, cosplay, they're going to get into the experience, absolutely. That's again, I do understand, if it's something you can just quickly throw on, absolutely, I get it. But the moment where those doors open and you walk into the atrium, be there for it.
Yeah, and it may even be a situation where this is the first time you've put on a costume. You don't normally cosplay, even if it's just a matter of putting, a cloak on or, something like that kind of puts you more into the Star Wars universe. If it's not something that you're used to, the idea is going to be more comfortable in that new skin as quickly as you can. And the best way to do that is to be in costume. If that's your plan, is to be in costume, then the sooner you get in that costume and the sooner you kind of like, okay, I'm not thinking about, maybe how uncomfortable I am or how dumb I look or whatever. When you're in costume and you see others around you that are in costume, it kind of puts you more in the, oh, okay, no, this is all good. And nobody's worried about, what I look like or, is my costume cool enough or any of those kind of stuff. Nobody cares. Everybody's just so excited that they're there, that you're there, and that the cast and crew are there. I don't know. For me, that was a big deal, is to like be completely in the character before we even got there, so I could start to be comfortable in that new skin that I wasn't, green skin that I wasn't used to.
Gotcha.
Well, let's take a moment to just actually kind of just do a really quick refresher on our 3 characters, just to give the audience a little, primer on, what we're talking about. Drew, can you tell us a little bit about Zoran Vox?
I can. So after a lot of thinking back and forth, and I was thinking back and forth, really kind of understanding the story that I want to try to pursue. So I'm laying tracks to try to guide towards kind of the path that I'm hoping to take through the story. My character I like to see as kind of a partner or former partner of DJ, the hacker kind of character, the slicer that Benicio del Toro plays in The Last Jedi. I think I have those exact. Zornvox has those same slicing skills. I could hack on to pretty much any computer system, be it Resistance, be it First Order, be it Scoundrel, be it whatever. I'm that guy. But I also have combat skills. So I'm going in kind of looking like a cyber hackery kind of guy. But my aim is to take out the First Order. I'm very angry because they blew up Hosnian Prime. My family was on Hosnian Prime. The First Order is going to pay.
Well, geez, Hosnian Prime happened just a couple months.
Yeah, within months of when this happened.
From when Starcruiser takes place. And,
the wound is fresh.
I just love the fact, just kind of going off topic for a moment, that what they've done with Galaxy's Edge and Galactic Starcruiser, it is Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
It's the same day over and over and over. Galactic Starcruiser, whether you go today, tomorrow, next year, next month, it takes place, the current storylines, on a specific day. Galaxy's Edge, Batu, Black Spire Outpost. Every single day is one specific day. And I think that's a really interesting storytelling device.
Oh, it's fabulous.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
And again, they can always, change it and shift it via certain mechanisms. But right now, as it stands, we're in that one time period where that's a really fresh event for your character.
Yeah, and so Zoran, my goal is to make contact with the Resistance when I get on the Halcyon. I found out through hook and crook that the Resistance has a presence. I think I know who I need to talk to. That's all I know. And I'm going to talk to that person and let them know that I'm available to assist the Resistance. What do they need me to do? So that's the Zoran Vox's backstory. How about you, Christine? What's Maleficent's backstory?
So Malie is the forbidden love child of a night
salacious.
sister. I know. Of a night sister from Dathomir and a Twi'lek from Ryloth. She was on the run after Grievous, tried to attack the planet, took over the planet, right?
Well, that had already all happened before you were born, right?
Well, yeah, well before I was born, but that's how Mom and Dad met.
Gotcha.
She was on the run and went to Ryloth. And, she's passed away. My dad has died. But at some point, Dad did a little bit of side work for Hondo. And so he had asked Hondo if, at a young age, if I could be a pirate, because that was the only safe place for me to be, would be with them. And so I do a lot of work for Hondo. Some good, some bad, some, gray, some of the in-betweens.
Sure.
So I'm on a mission for the most part for Hondo on the Halcyon.
So are you in, because of what we talked about earlier, it sounds like you're a little bit more open to the story happening. You maybe have some paths you don't want to follow as closely as you did perhaps before, but it sounds like you're a little bit more open to your story than maybe Martin and I, where we've got a little bit of a goal in mind.
Yeah, and that's where the challenge is
Sure.
that, Malie is definitely more of a scoundrel, giving her, background and affiliation with Hondo, but is that really the path that she's going to want to take while she's there?
Sure.
I mean, is she going to be relying more on the Ryloth part of her and looking to help Gaia? Or is she going to be leaning more into the Night Sister part of her and maybe even looking towards the Jedi? I mean, I don't know.
Well, that's what's so great about a character like Maleficent is that morally it's very ambiguous. I mean, I could see where a character like Malie could help the First Order, not because it's the First Order, but if it achieved their her own end as a result of that. So really, you do have a lot of different paths that you could theoretically take, and it's just your character is such a fun mix of actual Maleficent from the Disney animation, and there's elements of the Angelina Jolie version, but also there's some fun aspects from the Night Sister Marin character from Jedi Fallen Order that kind of just mash really well Maleficent and Night Sister. There's some real correlation there that it's been fun to see you create that.
I can't wait to work my magic. So what about you, Martin? What's Jorg's path going to be this time?
Well, the character of Jorg Sakul hasn't really made major changes since the last time, but I've just gotten a deeper version of it, is that he is a holovid director. There's no movies in the Star Wars universe. They're called holovids. And this particular director, he specializes in making holovids of real life events within the Star Wars universe, and a lot of those things have been chronicled in what we know as Star Wars. But he's been a smash hit with these vids, and he's actually there on the Halcyon researching his next entry in his mega hit franchise.
Yeah, but at this point, he's in trouble.
With some space pirates,
Yeah.
yes.
I wonder who those spice pirates could be.
Jorg Sakul unwittingly took in some investors for a particular venture that didn't pan out. That yes, they're looking for some payback. So Jorg's under some pressure on this voyage for sure.
Which I love, because that provided some of the impetus to bring Christine's character in, because Hondo needed to call Maleficent kind of to keep an eye on Jorg, right?
Yeah, to make sure that he was focused on making money on this next, I should say making credits, right? On this next film, Holovid, because he's got some payback.
And then Maleficent needed some extra muscle.
Additional, exactly.
And so you called your buddy Zoran Vox because you knew that he kind of had an in, because you knew that he kind of had a motivation to get payback against the First Order. So you kind of twist him and use his motivations for your own ends. Hey, what if I got you in front of Resistance? That would help you get on the ship, help me keep an eye on Jorg.
Right.
See, this is one thing is that I love Christine, how yours is a great mesh of, Maleficent, the character, and, a Night Sister. But Zoran Vox, one aspect of your character's personality that's really not only cool, but super useful on Galactic Starcruiser is being a slicer. Being a slicer is an incredibly useful, it's a hacker, that's the in-universe word for hacker in Star Wars, but that's an incredibly useful skill to have on Galactic Starcruiser, and we know the kind of missions that they send us on. That's a really great thing for characters to kind of interact with you about.
Yeah, I just want to be somebody who could be useful. There isn't a lot of blaster fire or Rochambeaus or mix-em-ups or fisticuffs on board the Starcruiser, so I can't be useful that way. So I had to figure out some other way I could be of use to the crew. So maybe that'll come in play. We'll see.
Well, no bodies have been found in the climate simulator yet.
And I'm going to do my best not to have any happen in my turn. So, but it'll be fun to see. I think so much of this has been fun for me personally because it's made the time between when we booked our cruise and going in 36 days to be so much fun.
Yeah, we're definitely over engineers, and we are planners. And for me, part of the fun of any adventure is the lead up to the adventure.
Yeah. And
putting together these videos and really kind of just diving super deep into the lore. What was the Halcyon doing a week before this event, a month, a year before it happened, and really kind of discovering that timeline and how does all the pieces fit together, because the story group at Disney really has thought this through really well as to they've set the stage of what's going on with this ship and this universe, and it's coming back now for the first voyage in a little while for the 275th anniversary. That's really, really smart. So it's every cruise is the anniversary cruise.
One of the things that, just to wrap this segment up, I think that's going to be super fun is I know how the story starts. I know where the story goes, but I don't know the middle parts. So what we're going to be doing over those 2 days, and sure, we know some of the missions, and sure, we know some of the bigger beats, absolutely, because we can't turn off our memories of our previous voyage, but we get to see kind of what we're going to do and what we're going to bring in, and hopefully how the cast members react to us. So we're going to get to see the middle part of the story, and it's just, I have my claws out right now. I'm so freaking excited.
Well, and on top of all that, we've got Zach coming with us.
Right.
Who is familiar with, big parts of the story because he did it with us last time. And then we've got Patty coming with us, who is clueless. And that's going to be amazing to see what kind of path she ends up taking.
Yeah.
And how the story is different. Yeah, we're expecting for her to be completely overwhelmed, but to kind of live a little bit of that vicariously through her while we're, working through our own story path.
I can't wait.
I'd like to do a huge shout out to Wikipedia because there was a lot of research done for me specifically on the Night Sisters and on Ryloth and trying to fit everything together. So, yay. Thank you.
Ah, yes, our fellow Star Wars nerds, we love you deeply. So for this part of the conversation, I want to go spoilers hot. I want to just absolutely not worry about what I'm going to say because I'm very curious if people out there who might be thinking about going on their second voyage are kind of engineering this in the same way we are. So Patty, don't listen anymore. Just turn the podcast off now. You know how the earmuffs, yeah, you know how the end we always say tabuite, so there we've given it away. So no more. If you're with us after now, you're going to hear spoilers. Okay, so when we went on it the first time, I knew about the holocron. The holocron had been spoiled for me. So I was going through, as we've talked about at length on this show, I had FOMO because I just needed to figure out how to get that Jedi mission and never found it until it accidentally kind of fell in our lap later that night. Mm-hmm. Well, what I'm curious about from you guys, my model for making my character as specific as I've made it is Mike Celestino's character with Lodico, the antiquarian. Now, Mike did not make his story with an eye towards the Starcruiser.
Right.
He accidentally created a character who was perfect for the scoundrel path. I mean, he couldn't have made a better character for them to use.
Right.
And think about it. He had this character, and yet he still had to fall into the scoundrel path for that to click. And it all just kind of fell bing, bang, boom, right into place.
Yeah, and so he accidentally had the Starcruiser voyage that I wish I could have. So for this trip, I've sort of kind of engineered, but not to the degree that Mike accidentally did. But I'm curious what you guys think about if somebody's going on a second time, what do you think some things they could do to kind of engineer their way to be useful towards the stories that we know are going to happen?
Well, I think again, if you wanted to go for the Jedi path, and again, I'm still not 100% sure that the Jedi have got as full a path as the Resistance and the Scoundrel. They may, but I have yet to see complete evidence that it's as deep a path as that. But if you were Force sensitive, that would certainly ingratiate you toward the Saja. I would see that being super useful.
Well, and some real-time follow-up, well, real-time for us, for everybody else that are listening to us after the fact, but before this episode, we reached out to Nick Tiersch to say, hey, are there some sort of specific Jedi missions on night one that kind of happen? And Nick said that, no, there are not. So it's exactly like you just said, yes. Martin. It's more of, as he says it, a sub-path and choices you make that kind of steer the... So that was interesting.
So it's like Sandro and Wani, that it's a really fun storyline, but it's not a full and complete story. Mm-hmm. It's not a full path.
So if somebody wanted to engineer a Jedi, they'd have a really hard time doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't believe there's a full Jedi path.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It would be difficult. I think that the main thing that they could do is spend as much time as you can talking to the Saja. I mean, I think that's really the only thing that will get you invited to the party that we all were so excited to be at, is to spend time talking to the Saja. I think that's the only way to get that piece of it put into your data pad.
Sure.
Well, and really, if you think about it, when we went on our first voyage, we went Scoundrel. All of us, all the three of us went Scoundrel, but none of us went full Scoundrel. There were pieces of the Scoundrel storyline that I was not there for, that you both were not there for.
Right.
Sure.
There were significant pieces. So I don't believe there's many people that go on Starcruiser that get exclusively one path.
Right.
I really do believe that it's very rare for somebody to get the full Resistance path. There's always a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a lot of this.
Well, I will say that I do think that it's possible because Zachary went full First Order. He basically told all the other characters, look, you're doing things wrong. I don't believe in your Resistance ways. So Zachary was as pure First Order, I think, as you could get, which is why he did the last First Order, and he was there for the whole pieces and the parts of the First Order story. So I do think you can engineer that, meaning a First Order voyage.
And again, I believe that if you wanted to engineer, I think First Order is probably the easiest one because the decisions are really clear cut. With the Smuggler, you're presented decisions on your data pad, and you're not 100% sure where this leads. Where First Order, it's are you going to betray the Resistance? Are you going to what? If you really want to go First Order, it's my guess that would be certainly achievable. So the three main storylines: Resistance, Scoundrel, and
First Order.
even resistance seems. I'm going to be curious because again, I'm probably going to lean resistance this time.
Oh, my goal. Joran wants to make the First Order pay, so I'm going to do everything I can to help the resistance. So I am going to lean. I'm not. Again, I haven't engineered. I haven't made myself completely indispensable, but I have made my character. I plan on. I'm just going to say it. I'm planning to go to Lenka on night 1 and just introduce myself and say, I'm here. I hear that there are ways for me to reach out to the resistance. I just want you to know that whatever you need me to do, if you can get me in contact with the resistance, I'm your man. So I want to make sure that Lenka knows that, and so I'm trying to steer the ship directly into the resistance path.
I got to tell you, I am not privy to the secret diagrams that Disney has on their whiteboards, but I really do believe Lenka Mock is a far more significant character in pathing you than most people realize. I believe that she is the one. You can talk to Captain Keevan. Captain Keevan is going to be my primary character simply because I think she's the one that we got the least interaction with. I mean, she specifically came up to us and said,
right,
we're so happy to have had you. It's sad our paths didn't cross. Well, I'm fixing that this time because frankly, I think the Captain Keevan character is fascinating. And these performers they have playing that character, I want to see more of that.
So are you going to have Jorg Sakul say, hey, I think I have the perfect actress in mind to play your role, Captain Keevan?
Tell me, Captain, who would play you in the Holovid?
Yeah.
I actually do have certain in-universe ways. I've got different paths no matter who I'm talking to.
Sure.
I'm going to... Sammy, I think, is another one. I had very, very little interaction with Sammy last time. Christine, did you? I know Drew talked to Sammy.
I did. I had a good first night mission.
Great
good
first
hour.
mission.
Yeah, that was fun.
I had like zero interaction with Sammy. And God, I love the character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I started my voyage talking to Sandro, who was just he's a fantastic actor, but he was just a very sweet character who was, kind of working through the crowd and just making nice and telling everybody about why he was there, which is fantastic. As soon as Wraith came on the scene, that was it.
That's it.
Done. Like, I'm going to talk to this guy until he tells me to stop talking to him.
Gotcha.
Basically.
Well, the Sandro character is actually a really good example of what I'm talking about. Because if you went on the ship and you engineered, you know what? I want to be somebody who's going to be Sandro's buddy. You can engineer to be there for the same reason as Sandro. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of Gaia as well. That's why I'm on the ship. I can't believe she's actually talking. The 275th anniversary brought her here. I might actually get a chance to meet her. Can you imagine how cool that would be?
Right.
So if somebody wanted to engineer that kind of lends itself now to the point where Sandro might be like, all right, I do need to go talk to this other person, but yeah, stay here. We'll work on a song together.
Right.
But if somebody wanted to do... When we previously were talking about characters, early, I don't know what episode it was for us, but I was kind of steering myself towards being a mechanic figure who was competing for Sammy's job. And this was something you brought up, Christine, during that episode. I was like, oh, that's freaking amazing. Mm-hmm. But I steered away with it because I put on the sunglasses when I was getting my costume together. I was like, oh no, Zoran, it's you and me, my man. But in any case, that character, if I had chosen to be that mechanic character, I could have steered into working with Sammy and really kind of, again, engineered, laid track, whatever word you want to say, towards being Sammy's boy, if you will. You know what I mean?
BFF.
Yeah, it's BFF, and a great way to put it. And that would have been a way to kind of engineer a reason to stick with Sammy so closely. I wonder what people could do to engineer for Keevan or Lenka or whatever.
I think that for Lenka, you've nailed it, is don't be shy. Literally express your intentions with Lenka. And I myself, for the captain, I had so little interaction with her. It's a bit of an enigma. And that's another reason why I'm really curious to kind of dig into that character, just to see how do you crack this puzzle? How do you get into this character's circle, for lack of a better word? That's going to be a fun little experiment.
Well, I think, and again, I have no way of knowing this, and although we know the general story and we know the pieces that we were very instrumental in the last time, We don't know the specifics that happen. Again, in talking with Nick, maybe there's not a first night Jedi mission or something you get on where you go do something, but I know, because I was part of a first night mission with Sammy, that there's something that happens with Sammy on the first night. Mm-hmm. We know that there's something that happens with Sandro on the first night when you want to be a part of that storyline. Mm-hmm. I can't help but think that there's got to be something with Lenka. There's got to be something with Captain Keevan on first night that she gets people involved with some sort of mission.
Well, I am convinced that we've talked about this previously. I'll keep it short, but our interactions with Keevan were kind of curtailed by us missing the after muster gathering.
Yes.
Because that was we went immediately, like muster was over, and we went directly to our CSL photo experience immediately. And there's that hour after muster where you just mingle with the characters and they get to know you and you get to know them. We missed that. Mm-hmm. And I really do think that was to our storyline detriment.
Gotcha. So there are definitely ways that if people wanted to, they probably could engineer individual characters so that they could make themselves obvious fits for certain storyline elements. But we're not exactly doing that. But to use your term again, Martin, we're laying track so that we can kind of get into the groove that we want to see more of certain storylines that we missed last time. Mm-hmm. So although we're not, building a tailor-made character that's just going to slot right into a story, we're kind of making ourselves available to certain story elements so that we can kind of have the path that we want.
Well, boy, we could talk about Galactic Starcruiser forever, but it looks like that's all time we have for this week's episode. So, Christine, if anyone wants to find us on the interwebs, where would they do that?
You can always find us on Halcyon_Heroes on Twitter, Heroes of the Halcyon on Instagram, or heroesofthehalcyon@gmail.com.
Well, it's always fun shooting the poodoo every week with our Starcruiser superfan friends out there. So until next episode, it's our honor. Let's raise our glasses with the Halcyon toast.
Tabuite!